Number 1, start small to win big.
If you start a business and your first business doesn't succeed, the way your brain works, you have dopamine receptors. Now scientists have found that dopamine receptors add or subtract. So dopamine is the hormone or the chemical in your brain that is the reward chemical. There's multiple ones, neuroepinephrine, oxytocin, all these. But the way dopamine works is like when you go shopping and you buy cool shoes and you feel good, that's a dopamine release. And dopamine drives us. And what happens is when you fail, your body, they're like little hairs. They're not actually hairs, but we'll pretend they are in your brain. They fall off. You get less of them. And the penalty for having less dopamine receptors is you become less ambitious. When you succeed, you actually grow more. It's a new science showing this. So the point being, I'm not a believer in having people fail in their first business. Forget that. Build a small business that you're sure you can pull off. Even Dean Smith, maybe the greatest basketball coach, college coach, him and John Wooden, he said he was never a believer in setting goals. You ever heard the thing, shoot for the stars, because even if you only hit halfway, you go to the moon? He called BS on that. He said, make a realistic goal, hit it, and then make another one. You don't need, so I meet entrepreneurs who are like, Tai, I'm grinding away. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm building $1 billion business. A guy wrote me an email, dude, I'm building $1 billion business. So I wrote him back, it was an email, and I said, oh really, have you ever made a $100 million business? No. Have you ever made a $10 million business? No. This is our email chain. I should have screenshot. It's like, no. Have you ever made 100,000? No. And I said, so let me get this straight. You're kind of like the dude, there's a lot of stairs in front of you. There's like 20 stairs to the top. And you're gonna do the jump from 1 to 20. You know what happens with people who jump too many steps? You can skip maybe 2 or 3 steps, but one of my school teachers, Randy Thompson, when we were growing up, he tried to jump up some stairs and he was holding books and he tripped on the 3rd step and hit his nose on the concrete. And he says the most painful surgery known to mankind to basically unplug your nose from, he cracked all the bone up into his face. Ooh. And that's what most entrepreneurs do. They go, no, Tai, I'm going from 0 to 1 billion. Oh man, as Warren Buffett said, today's the World Series Game 7. The way to win a baseball game, it's safer to just hit base hits. And if you hit a lot of base hits, next thing you know, you hit a home run. And once you've done that a few times, you'll have so many dopamine receptors that you won't fail.
Number 2, leverage fear to overcome anything.
We live in a society that's very narcissistic. You're told like, oh, everybody's a winner. No, not everybody's a winner. That's like saying everybody's blonde. There's a definition of what blonde is. Blonde is like this yellowish hair. So you lose meaning when you start going, everybody's blonde. Well, everybody doesn't win. And the sooner you wake up to that biology is ruthless, man, then you get a little fear in you. And when you get a little fear in you, you start listening. Because if you're truly afraid, you listen. Let a little fear come in and drive you and motivate you. Now, when I was about, I don't know, early 20s, I was in Mississippi with these 5 mentors, guy Alan Nation, Gary Townsend, Dr. Gordon Hazard, all these guys I really looked up to. They were like 60 years old. And they were the people, like the only millionaires I'd ever met. I didn't grow up, I was born in Long Beach, Compton kind of area, and never was around anybody who would make $100 grand a year. So I meet these guys, they're like, come, we're going on a hunting trip in Mississippi. I go down there and we're in these lodges, cabins, and then we're having hot dogs over the fire. And they start drinking a little bit. They were normally nice, kind of Southerners. And they kind of got me. They're like, so what do you want to do, man? And I was like, I want to be an entrepreneur. And they're like, oh, really? And they go, what does IRR mean? And I was like, I have no idea. It means Like I didn't know that it meant internal rate of return, right? So one of them just goes, you're never gonna amount to anything. There's 0 chance you'll ever be a successful entrepreneur. They all laughed. And I was like, I don't cry. It was the last time I got close to crying was that I was just like devastated. But you know what? I remember laying in bed that night going, no one will ever make fun of me again for not knowing about finance. So I became a CFP, a certified financial planner. And to this day, I can hold my own around the most powerful businessmen in the world.
Number 3, admit you're lost.
The day you admit you're lost is the day you allow yourself to be found by people who can give you a tip.
But what's the equivalent of that? Because obviously if you're an entrepreneur, nobody's looking for you. So that's the
They
one
are
catch,
though.
right? Who is?
They are. You go to Barnes & Noble, people selling their books. They're looking for you as a customer.
So read.
Read. I mean, the fact that people argue with me on this reading thing, and people argue with me about mentors. No, just use your own gut feeling. Is that how you learn English? When you were 2 years old, you use your gut feeling to start conjugating verbs? No, you learn from other people. You learn manners, you learn language, you learn all things valuable. You learn to drive from another person. So doesn't it make sense you learn life? So books are just the mentors who maybe are dead now. You want to learn about Steve Jobs? He ain't alive to teach you. But you can learn through accumulated wisdom.